Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for your support of Indie Agency News. And let's meet an indie agency. I am so raspy today, Anjali. I mean, just I'm a little raspy.
A little.
'Tis the season. We are going to the UK. Let's go around the horn. I know all of you are not necessarily based in the same area. So, Anjali, start with you, where you're based.
I am in London, so
Yeah.
Southeast London. Right.
Southeast London.
Yes, Southeast.
Hugh?
I am based not in the UK.
Oh, where are you?
I'm in Ibiza.
Ooh. Oh, all right. That's a different show for another time.
Curveball. I should have told you.
Yeah, Matt.
I am very much in the UK's Ibiza, or Brighton, as we call it.
Yes. I will tell you that I will probably be back in November, which means that I will make my way down to Brighton. And as I understand it, Hove is the second creative capital of the UK.
Well,
so,
I am in Hove right now.
Okay.
Hove actually, which is a cliche, but yeah.
Yeah.
Brighton.
Okay. So
apparently, Brighton and Hove is the second most densely populated city in the UK after London.
That does not surprise me. Having gone down,
it really surprised me. I guess because we've got the sea, we kind of it feels like a lot of space.
Right.
Anyway, it's lovely. Come to
I
Brighton.
got these glasses at a shop in Brighton. I got them at Cubits.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the one near the office, by the way.
It is. Yeah, our office is in North Lane. We're in the North Lane in Brighton.
Yeah. So I had gone in and saw these glasses, and I said, "Oh, these are great. I'll just go back home and my eye doctor will get them." They're like, "We don't know what this is." So I had two pair shipped. So these are the computer glasses, and then these are just the regular glasses. Cool. So if you're looking for great eyewear, go to Cubits. Not an ad. Not an ad. But November, I want to do something at Soho House down in Brighton. So stay tuned for that. All right. So let's get kicking on this interview because y'all are fascinating. And I love our conversations. And Matt, graciously attended our little happy hour in North London. And I want to get a take on how this whole thing got started, a little bit of the history. Who wants to take that one?
Matt, all yours.
Yeah, to be honest, it came out of a conference. So I worked for about a decade at the BBC and Channel 4, doing digital stuff and working as a commissioning editor. And I used to go to loads of media conferences, and I always loved the creative keynotes where people talked about how they told stories and then got really bored on the panel sessions when everyone moaned about their industry. So I started an event called The Story, where I just hired a venue in London and curated a list of people from all sorts of sectors, marketing and film and comedy and economics and science and everything. And I just got people to talk about how they told stories. And then I left Channel 4, did that for a couple of years as an event, left Channel 4 and decided to start a company that had a similarly eclectic approach to telling stories across different sectors. Right.
And just a brief aside. So at our happy hour, we had another guest there who was at the BBC and they worked on Bluey.
Yeah.
That was everyone was like, okay, cool. You came over from the US, but then it's like, oh no, tell me about Bluey. Everyone was very excited about
my biggest regret is that my children were too old to watch Bluey. I've actually watched episodes without any kids being in the whole house.
My kids love it, and I love it. So
yeah, no. When our kids were growing up, it was the Canadian show, so it was like Caillou and all those, and then weirdly, our son liked Fireman Sam, and we're part Welsh, so there you go. You got to do something for Wales, I guess. So let's talk about what the agency is best known for, and then what you would say are your top 3 core strengths, and understanding that you have a very specific lane that you're running in. So, Anjali, I want you to take that one.
Sure. So we are best known for making B2B marketing sound human and not zombie-like. And what we mean by that is that there are loads of great B2B brands out there, fascinating ones, huge ones, medium-sized ones. If you look at any of their thought leadership content, any of their videos, most of them look and feel the same. They sound the same, they look the same. And that's because, AI is just making it worse, but it's because they are not keeping people at the heart of their stories very often, or if they do, it's a regular interview. It's someone saying something and someone saying something else back. It's not structured. It's not interesting. I mean, today anyone has the choice of the whole internet to go to. Why would they pay attention to what you are saying just because you're a brand? And so what we do is really dig into the stories, the structure of the stories, the formats, and it all starts with the audience. We do a bit of audience research sometimes, mostly depending on the client, to understand who we're speaking to. And then we come up with formats that make sense to that audience, meet them where they are. We don't just produce video or just produce podcasts or just produce editorial. It's very much around finding those human stories and making these clients really stand out in an environment that is saturated with AI zombie-like
Right.
synergy, brand dependency, syndromes, basically.
Right. Hugh, Abitha, build on that. Talk a little bit about some of the work.
Some of the work that we do in Ibiza, or
Well, it's up to you.
some of the work that we do. Our work ranges. We're very good at strategy. Strategy is one of our core strengths. I think a lot of us had the unfair advantage of working in digital very early, but for public service broadcasters, so we could experiment a hell of a lot and learn a hell of a lot. I was at the BBC for 15 years. Matt was 7 at the BBC and I think 5 at Channel 4. So we developed our strategy muscles then. And we also learned a lot about making content. I was in radio, Matt was in radio and TV. So we took what we learned from broadcasters and brought it into the world of brands and foundations. So that's the kind of work that we've done most over the last 10 to 12 years, is creating formats using the skills that we acquired then.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Matt, I see that smile. Yeah, there it is. Why is being indie so important to you?
I think for us, it's about a couple of things, really. One is it means that we can build the team that's right for the client. We have a brilliant network of creative talent, a lot of which have had award-winning careers in the media industry. That's one of the things that we really bring to B2B. Our networks are not people that work in the B2B sector. They're directors, filmmakers, artists, editors, data journalists, writers, people who come from other sectors, particularly media sectors, and come with those really, really honed storytelling skills, journalistic skills, documentary skills that make your stories stand out. So we can go out and build a team that works for you as a client. We don't have a group of like 20 or 30 people in the office that we have to kind of use on every project. We can go out and build a team that's specifically for you. And that's one of the advantages of being an indie, is you can work like that. We work a lot more like a TV or film production company than we do a traditional content agency.
Right.
I think the second thing is, I'll add one more thing, is, we tend to stick with a few clients for a very long time. So we've been with ADP for 4 or 5 years. We were with Gates for about 4 or 5 years before that. We're just starting a new 5-year relationship with a big foundation. And that means that we really learn your language. We love really understanding not just a client's immediate needs, but actually just really diving deep. So we've worked with ADP for 4 or 5 years now, and I know way more about global payroll than I ever thought I would, and it's fascinating.
But here's the thing: it's like I've looked at and listened. I'm just like, this is the way it should be, because it's interesting, and like the thing, and this is just for everybody, especially this form factor, being useful while being informative and entertain. That's the philosophy that we have here. Is like, how can we be useful, educational, informative, but also entertaining? So it's not like you're gargling glass with broken glass with any of this. It's really interesting.
I think that's it. And for me, it's like nothing is cookie cutter for us.
Right.
Like, we don't have a whole bunch of stuff on the shelf that we just say, oh yeah, we'll sell them this and we'll sell them this. We really love getting under the skin of your sector. We love finding the stories. We love kind of like asking the questions. That means that we kind of, really understand how you can be different in your sector and how you can stand out. As Anjali said at the beginning, it's about finding the humans in the story. And that often means going and asking people who are not necessarily in that top tier of people that you normally approach for thought leadership. We love diving underneath that. So a good example for ADP, for many years now, we've been doing a series called Real People Talk Pay, because the thing about payroll we learned very quickly is that it's probably the most important interface between companies and their employees. If you get pay wrong, there was a statistic used in one of the speeches at the ADP Rethink conference in Zurich recently, where somebody said, if you get somebody's pay wrong twice, 47% of people will start looking for another job. So if you don't get pay right, you're going to lose talent, you're going to lose people. So it's really important. And so we wanted to tell the human story of payroll, and we started this series for ADP Rethink, where we had journalists, and so far we've had journalists in every continent, including Antarctica, interviewing employees and saying, what does pay mean to you? Like, how does it shape your life? How does it affect your life?
Right.
And you get those really human stories. And if you work in payroll, you don't normally get that. People in payroll say, we only hear from people if it goes wrong. So you never hear those stories about actually what getting paid means to people. So that's what we love. We love really diving into your sector and finding those human stories in places where perhaps you hadn't even imagined there would be stories.
Right. Well, I will say that you've touched on a number of reasons why a brand should work with you. What are a couple of others? And Hugh, let's start with you.
I think we, just going back to something that we said a little bit earlier about our experience from working in broadcast media for so long, that's been really valuable to us. And I think we talk about this quite a lot, which is when you, a lot of the circles that we work in, when you work in marketing, you generally tend to hang out a lot in marketing circles, and there's lots of value to that. And, you know, we talked about a little bit earlier on before we came on this call, there are certain people in the industry that we really respect, and they're incredible voices that are really important to us. But we also mix in other media circles, and we still have those relationships, and we value things, and we pay attention to, and we notice things that a lot of other agencies might not notice because they don't have that history, or not even the history. It's just the love of the media that we have. So we absolutely obsess over people who are, you know, really incredible documentary makers, as an example, really incredible writers, really incredible comedians, people who write comedy, filmmakers. That's our world. We still live in that world. We might have left that world 15 years ago, but we do still live in it and obsess over it, and we bring that into everything that we do. Yeah.
I gotta say that, Hugh, you and I like our hair twins. I know I've got this hat on, but I'm looking at it going, I think that we might be related, and we just have similar eyes.
Could well be.
What's going on? And my brother's name is Hugh, so who knows? Who knows?
Can I just say, I spent a lot of my childhood on holiday in Wales, and you said you've got Welsh in your blood. So
yeah. I'm a big Aberystwyth fan, and I did a paper. This is 1990, by the way. I can't remember any of it, but it was the effect of third-party politics on UK, or the third parties on UK politics, and I used the Plaid Camry as my example. So I spent 4 days in Aberystwyth.
Wow.
Going up to the National Library. I was the American. So every night at the hotel, in the bar, more and more people would show up because I was at the Curiosity in town, and they were lovely. I don't think I paid for a drink the whole time. And they were absolutely lovely. And so I've got a very, very soft spot in my heart for Aberystwyth. So Aber, we love you. We love you. Let's talk a little bit about talent. I'm curious about how you work with talent. You've touched on, you've touched on some of the writers and some of the directors and some of the talent around you. Why should talent be putting all of you on their list? Anjali, I'll start with you.
Cool. So it's because I think we genuinely believe in nurturing people and allowing them to do their best work. We want to do our best work, and the only way we can do our best work is by allowing the people who work with us to do their best work and feel incredibly invested and proud of the work that they do. And I think that really comes across in the freelancers we work with. You know, very often we work with the similar people again and again because they have such a good time or we have such a good time working with them. Having said that, diversity is really important to us, and we do go out and try to find people from as many different networks as possible. And talent, I mean, we do a lot of things for talent. One of the things that we do is something that Hugh started called Proper Fancy, where once a month we have this creative show and tell online. It's on Zoom, it's free, anyone can attend. And we started it so that we get to know some of the people making these brilliant things. I mean, ideally, they come and show us their things, but we understand that that can be a bit intimidating for some. So to start, it's really just about talking about great work, like what makes great work, and breaking down the elements of that, whether it's the lighting, whether it's the music, whether it's the story, the narrative, the acting, whatever it is. It could be a game, it could be a joke, it could be a show, it could be anything, audio, podcast. But really, we want talent to understand that we understand their passions and their work really, really deeply. And that's something that they will not need to let go of. If at all, they will improve on it when they come to us because of the experience that we have in the space. And creativity is something that we genuinely do. It's not something we just talk about. Like when we have our team sort of away days, as we call them, the days that we get together as a team because we're remote and hybrid. What we do is we actually go off after some initial inspiration. We break into teams and we go off, and within 3 to 4 hours, each team produces something as a prototype. So it could be a podcast. Once one of our one team made a zine. Could be a documentary.
I remember you told me about that. Yeah, you told me about the zine. That was cool.
Yeah, it was great fun. Could be a short documentary film, maybe just a collage, whatever it is. We actually make stuff, and I think that's it. Like a lot of agencies talk a lot about the work, talk about the theory and the strategy and the rest of it, but we do that, but we also very much and very strongly believe in the making. And that's why talent should come to us as well. And we give them the flexibility to work on projects that they want to experiment with. So one of our audio producers at the moment, he's a brilliant, brilliant talent. I think he appeared in a really interesting podcast about the history of hip hop. Was it Hugh today? But cool. He's working on a few pilots at the moment. And we're like, yes, when you have any downtime, go and do that. Like we want those stories to be heard, and we brainstorm with them on interesting ideas. We give them the time to work on it. So yeah, I think it's a great place for the right talent.
If you haven't watched Hip Hop Evolution by Shad, that's the one.
I have not, but Hugh has, I think. Have you? And Matt, have you?
Yeah. Can I just build on top of that, though, Anjali?
Yeah,
I think we have a prototyping culture at Storythings. We just want to keep making. And so giving talent the opportunity to make the things that they want to make, that might have absolutely nothing to do with us and our clients, but give them the space to experiment in work hours. I think that's really important. So, we've made podcast prototypes about wrestling.
Nice.
We're currently making something. We're currently making a podcast prototype, and the first episode is about U2 sticking their album on your iPod back in the day.
Oh my god, I remember that. Oh my god.
Yeah, exactly. So, just like experimenting with ideas, we came up with a creative restriction, which was about things that happen in 90 days. Can you tell stories about 3 things that happened in 90 days that tell a bigger story? So we came up with this episode, which was about the last episode of The Wire, the middle episode of Lost, and the first episode of Breaking Bad, all happening within 90 days of each other, which tells the story of the changing of the guard in TV, birth of social, and all that sort of stuff. So by creating space for really creative, talented people to flex in ways that they wouldn't be able to in their 9 to 5, right, we all learn something from it. We all do. It's not just about the individual, it's about us as a team learning.
No, that U2 one, that's really interesting. I mean, the good news is at least it wasn't Chaz and Dave putting
Go on, Matt. Chaz and Dave anecdote.
Right. I saw them in Islington. Well, part of it because I was just watching it. I'd heard of them before. And then I think when they sung Rabbit, I was like, yeah, I'm out of here.
So this is a troll on 2 levels. One, because as you are trolling me with the Arsenal things, I'm a Spurs fan, and you know that Chaz and Dave were basically Spurs' band of choice. But did you know?
I'll change the background here.
Did you know that the break? Did you know that the break on Eminem's "I Got There" is actually played by Chaz and Dave?
I didn't.
They were session musicians in London, and it's based on a track. Sorry, so it's Eminem's "My Name Is," and it's based on a track called "I Got There" by Labi Siffrey that he recorded in the 70s in London. And he worked with two session musicians called Chaz Hodges and Dave Peacock, and they did the do 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 do.
Oh my God! Okay. Oh wow!
So one of the fattest breaks in hip hop, Chaz and Dave.
Oh my God, that is.
I thought when you said I went to see them in Islington, I thought you were talking about U2's first UK gig, which was at the Hope and Anchor in Islington. But no, it was Chaz and Dave.
It was Chaz and Dave.
Unless U2 were playing Rabbit as a cover on their first gig.
No.
Unless they supported them.
No, so I'd gotten to London, and one of my favorite people in the world, just absolutely adore her, Kathleen Saxton. So we worked together on Advertising Week, and one of her colleagues said, "Hey, I've got these 2 tickets to Chaz and Dave." And so it was me and this guy, Terry, lovely guy. So we're sitting there up in the balcony. It was in the old church in Islington. And we're like getting through this thing, and we kind of look at each other. We're like, yeah, not really for us. And so we left. And then the next day she's like, how was this show? I was like, oh, it was great. What songs do they do? I'm like, oh, I'm American. I don't know. So yeah, it was something.
How have we spent 10 minutes talking about Chaz and Dave on this?
Okay, yes, moving on.
All right. So Matt, I'm gonna let you handle this one. Would you consider yourselves weirdos, misfits, or underdogs? And why is that?
I think we're underdogs.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we're as known in the B2B space as a lot of other bigger agencies. But people that work with us love us and stick around for a very long time. So, we've just started entering awards again, but for ages we didn't really enter awards. We weren't really, I think we're probably keeping our light a bit under a bushel. We're very good at curating communities around us who we are kind of very generous with our communities. So we have a lot of people follow our newsletters. So particularly the Storythings newsletter that Hugh started back in 2013. We've been doing that for over a decade now. We've got Formats Unpacked, we've got Attention Matters. So people kind of, when they find us, they love us.
Right.
But we're not necessarily the kind of biggest or noisiest agency in town.
Yeah. There you go.
Hey, there we go.
There we go.
I love him.
Everybody loves some. Everybody loves some.
So I can't stand Spurs, but I love some of the players on the team, and I love Ange. All right, before Anjali starts yelling. Either of you want to dip into the weirdo, misfit, or underdog thing?
No, I completely agree. I mean, it's sometimes, especially as someone who is so close to the work and so passionate about the work that we do, it's frustrating that not more people know us, but genuinely, I think we put a lot of passion into the work that we do, and the people who do work with us come back very, very often. And yeah, we are the underdogs.
All right.
I've got a music metaphor since we're on Chaz and Dave. And,
all right, cool.
So when the Smiths, I come from Manchester, and when I was young, the Smiths were the biggest indie band kind of in the world at the time. And I loved them, but I remember the review for their album, I cut it out and put it on the front of my college folder, because whilst everyone loved the Smiths, I loved this other band, and the review for the Smiths album said, this is a truly brilliant album, but it's not the best album that will come out this year, because soon we're going to have Prefab Sprout's first album. And Prefab Sprout became the band that very few people know about, but are 10 times better than the Smiths. And if you ever bump into a Prefab Sprout fan, they're usually obsessed. They don't just like them, they're absolutely obsessed. And I kind of slightly kind of humble braggy kind of way, I like to think of us as being the least, not so popular indie band, but the ones that when people find us, they really, really like us.
Yeah. My favorite Manchester band is Doves. I like them the best.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's actually a YouTube video of a very early Prefab Sprout gig at the Hacienda, and Hugh can be spotted in the front row in a very fine jumper, I think.
Please send link. Thank you. All right, moving on. Last questions. Hugh, you cannot respond to that. Whether they are a current client or not, which CMO or marketer would you like to say hello to?
So can we all go?
Yeah, you all get a swing at this one. Anjali, you go first.
Cool. So one is actually someone I did meet at South by Southwest very briefly last year. Raja Manar, who's the CMO of MasterCard.
Oh, I know him. He's awesome.
Yeah. So that's one. The second is Ariel Kelman, who is sort of newish, but CMO of Salesforce, which is another amazing brand doing, lots of great things and obviously very well known. And then Ruth Rowan, who's the CMO of Avanade. And finally, Jamie Dominici of this B2B brand called Log Me In. I think I'd love to say a lot more.
Okay. Hugh?
I'm not going to name any individuals. I'm just going to say any CMO that is the kind of CMO that likes to take a little bit of a chance, really wants to try something different. You're not taking a chance with us, but you will be the kind of CMO that really wants to change track a little bit, wants to try something that they've never tried before, wants to punch through or break through or just try something in a slightly different way than normal.
Matt, I'm giving you the last word because you're a gent, number one, but B, you put up with my trolling this entire show. So I'm giving you the last word.
I'm not judging you, Doug. I'm not judging.
No, you should. You absolutely should. You should judge every Arsenal supporter.
I'm going to say, I think we like to work with people that we think are kind of like hidden heroes. So they are really big businesses that do absolutely essential things in companies, but are not necessarily the kind of sexy direct-to-consumer brands that everybody wants to work with. So I'm going to pick a couple that have just come up recently. One of the things we do at Rethink is we help their clients do presentations on stage about how they use ADP. And I worked with Luke, who's the head of global payroll at NASDAQ. And I didn't really know anything. I just thought of NASDAQ as being like the US stock exchange, but they're way more interesting than that. They are a technology platform that supports markets all over the world. So actually the NASDAQ platform itself is a tiny part of the business. They're global. They do all sorts of interesting work. So I think they definitely count as a hidden hero. But he was also talking about the culture of the company. And I think in an era in which we are seeing a shift away from engagement with, you might say, progressive values in companies, NASDAQ seems like they're not doing that. And I think they're really, really interesting. So NASDAQ would definitely be one. And I think Patel is the UK marketing lead. So I'd love to speak to them and find out more about what NASDAQ are doing with their storytelling. Because I think there's I just get the feeling that there's a lot of great stories. And I think that's a key thing with us. Sometimes we think of a client and you just get almost like this itch of like, oh, I bet you've got loads of interesting stories hiding under the surface of the company. Right. And so my second one would actually be, we've been doing the Stay Human campaign, and I've been writing some blog posts based on kind of Hugh's work on this Stay Human campaign. And we got a share from Xero, XERO, the accountancy platform in Australia. And that really warmed my heart because when I started Storythings, we were a very early adopter of Xero as our accountancy platform. And so the entire company has been built on Xero all these years. And again, I think they're a kind of hidden hero. I think they're one of those companies, one of those sectors that people don't really think about in terms of stories, but it's absolutely essential to our business. And I'm sure that's the case for loads. So I'll pick those two. And I think it's Sam Daniels, who's the UK marketing lead for Xero. So I'd really love to speak to them. Any hidden hero like that is right up our street.
God, hidden hero. We should do a show on that.
Yeah, I mean, we are the hidden hero of our industry, and the hidden heroes of.
But it's honestly, I've so enjoyed working with payroll professionals with ADP, because they don't think they've got interesting stories. They think that what the work they do, like all of them say, when nobody talks about us, that's when we're winning. And I'm like, but what you do is fascinating. It's like really interesting. So yeah, we love that.
Yeah. All right. I love this. Well, you are all fascinating. Professional broadcast segue.
You're so slick.
Right. We try to keep it as slick as possible. Listen, first of all, can't thank you enough for the support. This mission, this time last year, we had about 50 members. Now we're over 200, and you are part of the early crew. So I'm incredibly grateful. And I just think you do amazing work, and you're just fun and sharp and just awesome. So thank you so much for the support, and I wish you the very best moving forward.
Thank you so
very
much.
Doug.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
See you in Brighton soon.